Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. It is another Tuesday, and that means we are live with another FPL stream for you guys. Just with me now tonight is Damo. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all. Another week in the fantasy books, and well, game week 1 is always a lot of fun.
Yeah, that it is. It is almost, I'd call it semi-volatile as well. Like game week 1 is an interesting time to play FPL. There's so many price rises. There's a lot of talking points because this is the point where the most amount of managers are engaged in the game, which also means that there's lots and lots to talk about. So let's not hold up the time anymore. If you are here already, I can see there's a few people lingering around in the stream. Get in the chat. Let us know that you're here because today we will try and get to your questions as well as a bit of a recap on our teams. And we've found some really, really good talking points to find for this week because everyone wants data. And I think we've actually found some good data. So what I'm going to load up with Damo, you've done a video on this side already. I have it scheduled up for tonight. So Damo does have a longer video on this side. By the time you're watching this over on YouTube, it will be on the channel. So if you do, make sure you go and watch Damo's full video talking about his side and his thoughts ahead of game week 2. But also make sure that you go like, comment, and subscribe on that video as well. So Damo, talk us through briefly your, high and low points of this side and what your quick thoughts are ahead of game week 2.
Look, first things first, when you go watch that video, apologies for where the camera's placed. I'm so used to it for football manager reasons being on the other side. We'll definitely move it for the future. But yeah, look, in terms of the side, I'm fairly happy with the result. There was definitely a point before the Rinders Hall where it looked like it was going to be a very poor week. So yeah, look, 60 points. I would take it at the start, just nice bang smack average right in the middle with everyone else. Obviously the highlight is going for Reinders in the 5.5. There's a lot of people clamoring to get him in, and I think he's had a price rise, might be on for a second price rise shortly. Paul, something we might touch on in this stream a little later, which I'm pretty happy with. And look, we're going to get into this guy a little bit later, but I'm actually really happy I've gone with Bruno Fernandes because there is some stats that will show you. And I thought he was exceptional in this game without much reward against Arsenal. So happy with that. The low points is, look, without saying too much and speaking about too much football, probably Tarkowski getting, 6 to 9 points taken off him for a decision that is, look,
very harsh,
horrendous. But yeah, look, that's the difference for me winning 3 of my 5 head-to-head league matches this week. So yeah, a little annoying, but that's fine. In terms of
positive with Tarkowski was how quick he got to 10 DEFCON though. He had it in like the 60th minute.
Yeah, and he's been doing that all preseason. So for me, he's a must-have personally because of that reason. And you saw it this week. And look, obviously it's only 1 week of data, so you can't read too much into it. A lot of the 5.5s outscoring the 6s, which is good. If you look at the 6s, Frimpong, Kirkes, there's also a few that scored really well and out.
Yeah, a few are real good.
Yeah,
and Virgil as well with conceding 2, and Nuri went nuts with DEFCON.
But I think we're going to see throughout the season that these 5.5s are going to hold their own, and there's got to be one that will outscore the rest. And Tarkowski, I think if Everton keep a clean sheet at any point this season, is going to be probably that guy because just how quickly he gets the DEFCON, he generally does really well on bonus. Like, was averaging 2 bonus before the pen. So that's probably my highs and lowlights. Most people be like Damien Diouf over Manoz. I think it was an easy decision, and on a different day Diouf scores. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the team, and I know there's a lot of people out there in the community panicking. I'm sitting here going, I made some good choices.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And the Tarkowski pick, for as much as I was on it last week, was probably the one area that I let myself down this week. As you can see on my screen, I was 5 points behind Damo. And I did post the team up on Twitter when Dom did all of our teams last week. And you would have noticed from the stream, I said I wasn't set on that third 5.5 defender, and I wasn't set on the 2 5.5 mids. So what I ended up doing was I turned Tarkowski and Elliot Anderson into Diouf and Sarr, and that absolutely just rained on my parade. Had I had the Anderson and Tarkowski double up there, I would have been very, very happy on the week. But end of the day, it is game week 1. The reason I did that as well was I felt like I I was going to get enough good games out of Chris Richards, who we're not going to talk about tonight. But whilst we're on here, he did get 8 defensive contributions in that game against Chelsea as well. And I think Palace were actually quite good in that game. I didn't think they actually had to defend as much as I thought they would. Like, a lot of Chelsea's shots were off target as well. So, he didn't get any blocks, I don't think, either in this run. He had 6, or we had 6 CBI, so I don't actually know what the breakdown was, but he only had 2 tackles. So I feel like Crystal Palace probably played a little bit better than I was anticipating, but I don't mind his run. And then out of the 5.5s, I picked the one that blanked. And a lot of people had double Forest defense. And again, similar to Tarkovsky, it's ruined by a penalty. So again, Murillo, I'm not too disappointed in. This definitely was not a CBIT game for him anyway, because they just dominated and Brentford just weren't going to do much other than that penalty. And you see their XG table. We don't have it loaded up, but the penalty was practically all of their attacking threat. And again, he didn't have any tackles in that game. That just shows you the dominance that Nottingham Forest had. And it doesn't surprise me that an Elliot Anderson had 11 defensive contributions, because clearly Forest are winning the ball higher up the pitch. So I'm not worried about Murillo long term. Juve, I was always content with Juve just hitting the bench for Richards and playing Murillo, Porro, and Richards every week, and then playing that midfield 5, similar to you, Damo. Loving Bruno. Reinders, what a start. And João Pedro, I'm a little bit concerned around the minutes, but we knew that going in. So prepared to give him a month or so to see how that plays out. So welcome, guys, as well. Fermi, new FPL channel, well in. Thank you very much. We are
Thanks, Fermi.
For a good couple of weeks, and we've revitalized the old channel. So we are here every Tuesday night. So if you are around, we would appreciate you here with us. Same with Dim, absolute legend. He had a big week. I don't know if you saw Dim.
His bench boost went off. Feel free to send the team in, Dim, if you want. Put it on the. We don't have Dom tonight, so the Twitter's probably space I can't get to.
I'm going to monitor it. So
yeah,
you just got to bear with me, guys, because I'm hosting. I'm doing the stuff with the laptop, and I've got everything up. So just please, I'm riding solo tonight. So if you do want to get your team rated at the end, get onto Twitter over at Chasing Rank FPL. Add it to the post that Dom put up just now, where we've gone live, and we'll be able to get your team on screen at the end and answer some questions. Luca, absolute legend, long time no see. Welcome in, Luca. If you haven't already, guys, before we get into the nuts and bolts of today's live stream, make sure you smash a thumbs up on this stream. It does help push it out. And also make sure you subscribe if you've been enjoying the content across the shorts, the lives, and the middle form content that Damo's mostly been doing for us as well. Damo's doing a lot more of the longer videos. I'm doing a lot more of the shorter videos, and then we are coming together for the live stream. So we've got lots and lots to talk about. I'm going to put my screen up, and I'm going to allow Damien to kick us off here with the first point, because you alluded to it first, Damo, with how happy you were with Bruno Fernandes. Now, he was sitting in that deeper position. And before you get into it, I might actually, whilst you talk about chances created, I'm going to bring up his profile over on Fantasy Football Hub so that we can have a look at his positioning in the game, because it is actually a really interesting graph. So you open the conversation, Damo. Don't be put off if you notice that I changed the screen at any time.
I know what I'm talking about here with Bruno. Beautiful. I will just say as well, shout out Berger, who told me that he's watching this post-production after training tonight. So Berger, when you watch this, shout out, mate. Good to see you. And to those watching it back, make sure you leave a comment post-stream, and we'll definitely check them out after the stream has been posted. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes, who I really want to speak about on this graph. If you've been watching any FPL content of the big creators, namely Let's Talk FPL with Andy, a lot of people clamoring at why you go with Bruno, and he's blanked again, and he was deeper and he wasn't doing anything. In terms of chances created, as it was on the screens before, was 5. And those 5 big chances all could have been converted. Dorgu hit the post in one of them. And just, he's got the graph up now, which alludes to the point I was going to make anyway, is the way he got around the pitch in this system was ridiculous. He had himself in every pocket of space. Anytime United went forward, there was Bruno, right? Every time that they was on the left-hand side, Bruno was the one in the half space to go the other way, right? Or if it was on the right-hand side, he'll come in short, pick it up, look the other way. He was the linking up pass, the flying on wing back, that they're playing in that 5 at the back system, which actually looks really good. And the way that he was able to link in Cunha and Mbeumo was superb throughout, and the way they all linked up. on a different day, you know, he gets one more defensive contribution as well, by the way, and he outscores a lot of the other 9 to 10.5 millions, midfielders and some of the eights. But yeah, the way he created, the way he flowed through the game was brilliant. He was that little bit deeper, which did not bother me. He got some recoveries. I just thought he was instrumental to everything he'd done. And if they produce that performance, you got to remember, this is against Arsenal, who have a really, really, really good defense, arguably the best defense in the league. If he's doing that against Arsenal and they're playing that well, scary what Bruno could do against some weaker opposition. Imagine if he was playing against a Burnley. He probably could have held quite a fair bit.
Yeah, and I think he is somebody that we picked knowing that this was the hardest game in the run. So he goes Fulham away and then Burnley at home over the next two. He is just going to absolutely run those games. You know, I'm very, very keen to see what he could do over the next few weeks. So that's the reason why I went with him. He's got penalties as well. He's got better attackers up front. So when he does put that ball for Dorgu, man, like that misses only by half a ball as well. That hits if that hits the inside of the post, it probably goes in. And then you're looking at a completely different game where Man United really did dominate. So I don't want to go too much on the football side of things, but Bruno at 9 million, I just think forget 90 minutes. You saw Wirtz come off as well. Everyone was saying it's Bruno or Wirtz. You got to pick one or the other. I just think for the 0.5 million, you knew the proven asset. He's going to play 90 minutes. There's just so many ticks in that column for his data, and that's someone I'm very happy to own. Someone I want to talk about. Now, I didn't get to watch this game heaps this morning. He is on this list. It is Stack. Now, not many people are going to know about this, and there is a very, very close member of my family who is a Leeds supporter who said to me a week ago, get Stack in your team. Now, he is 5 million. I'm going to bring it up, actually. I've changed my mind. I wasn't going to switch the screen for a fourth time, but I'm going to switch the screen just one more time. So let me get rid of that. Let me present my screen because
as Paul's switching the screen and he focuses up on that. Very quickly on Bruno, was on set pieces too, which is extraordinary for all of the people that own him. It's another route to points. So Bruno and Penn set pieces, defensive contribution, creating everything. But back to Stack, which is very interesting.
Anton Stack, 0.3% owned, 5 million asset, played 90 minutes, won the penalty. Now that obviously inflates the points a little bit because he gets an assist. 13 defensive contributions from a central midfielder playing for Leeds with a 0.56 expected goal involvement with 0.27 XG and 0.29 XA. Now, I'm not saying buy him this week because he goes to Arsenal away. I think this is your typical box-to-box midfielder that if in 3 weeks' time you're not happy with Dewsbury Hall or he ends up playing the deeper role and he's just not involved, this could be your pivot. I think Leeds are going to have games where when they play at home, they're going to be a bit more on the front foot. And when they play away, they're going to be a little bit more pragmatic. I just think there's a world where he could actually be really, really good. So he had 4 recoveries, 7 CBI and 2 tackles. And I don't know how you're feeling, Damo, but I actually think the midfielders might actually be better for the DC than the defenders because the defenders don't get the recoveries. So the midfielders
I think it depends on the team and the way they're set up. Obviously, a team like Everton that like to invite crosses for Tarkowski and they're Branthwaite usually alongside the header away. They've got to be really good for DC points. Forest, arguably the same for Murillo. They invite a lot of crosses because they've got some big boys in there and they know they'll just get it away. They're very well organised. I definitely think teams like United, for instance, the midfielders are better play because the midfielders going to win the ball higher up the field. Or, teams such as, I'm going to say Spurs, but I wouldn't be surprised if Romero gets a lot of DC as well. They aim to win the ball a bit higher up the pitch, right? So their fullbacks that are high, like Pedro Porro, for instance, are going to do more defensive contribution work because they're going to be engaging in that higher up the pitch than what the centre-backs will do because they'll win the ball high and use the centre-backs to recycle. So it depends on who you're picking and who you're choosing. I think like Van Dijk's really good for DC because Liverpool just throw numbers.
He's our main bloody defender. That's why.
I understand. I definitely think there's going to be some teams where defenders will be better. And I actually think Leeds and I actually think all the relegation teams, so maybe someone like Xhaka, for instance, as well, might be better because they're going to sit in that block and, the teams are going to sit on top of them. the midfielders are the one that are going to engage in those tackles and those recoveries as they sit on top of their 18-yard box. So it depends. It'd be interesting to see. Something definitely to note of one game week of data. But it'd be interesting to see in game weeks, 5, 6, 7, we have about quite a bit more data. What teams actually favour the defensive contributions? Would not surprise me. There's some teams where it's midfielders that are mainly getting it and not the defenders.
Yeah, so he's one that I'm just keeping a cheeky eye on. As Dim said, Fulham, Wolves, Bournemouth isn't a bad run to get on, especially if maybe we're looking at a Haaland and Salah draft by that point as well, and you want to take money out of a midfielder, and maybe it's a Palmer that goes down to an Elliot Anderson, or if the money doesn't work with Elliot Anderson, maybe it is someone like a Stack or a Granit Xhaka that shows over a month that they're going to be a consistent fantasy option. So just something to consider. I just thought, like, when I saw that, I knew he had the defensive contributions as well, but the fact that he created 4 chances and he had the shot that won the penalty, you just start going, wow, okay, this guy might be that kind of box-to-box midfielder that can do it all. So I still think there's some names down here that were really interesting. O'Reilly, we know he's going to play as the number 10 for Brighton. He did take the penalty. I've seen some interesting information come about that Brighton potentially maybe don't like the person who wins the penalty taking the penalty as well. So there's a bit of that. Like Jorginho won the penalty, and I think there's about a 20% drop off if you've won the penalty to then taking it.
That's interesting.
With conversion. So just one to watch to see if someone else wins a penalty and if Jorginho then takes it or not. But that's just little things for me. Harvey Barnes, again, didn't start and then created 4 chances. But again, that was against 10 men. So you're probably taking that with a pinch of salt. But then Gakpo actually had the highest XA of any fantasy player this week as well. So I think he's kind of nailed on that left-hand side, but I'm just not touching the Liverpool guys until the end of the transfer window, really. I just want to know where we're at with the exact transfer. So let's see if I want to get my laptop to fire away here. Shots. Now, Anthony Gordon, speaking of the Isaac transfer, he ends up playing as the number 9 on the weekend and has 7 shots against Aston Villa. Haaland has 6, and that was within, 70 minutes, I think. Haaland had 6 shots, so they were absolutely feeding him the ball. And again, I think he had 2 XG, but I think the first goal was like a 0.9 XG because it was a tap in from 4 yards out. Granted, the second goal, though, was bloody a great finish for the Reinders assist. But then you've got Eze with 6 shots and, again, had the disallowed free kick. But at the end of the game, it kind of looked like he was saying his goodbyes to the Palace fans as well. So maybe that was an issue for me going with Ismail Assar, but maybe that provides him a bit more of a platform to be the man for Crystal Palace. So you can look at it from both perspectives. And Buemo, again, him and Cunha both looked very, very good on the weekend, as did Richarlison. But Solanke is getting back to fitness. A name on that mentions list that I really like the look of was Strand Larsen. Everyone knew that this Man City game was going to be the tougher one. They took him off when the game was dead and buried because he really is their only recognised number 9. Is there any names on that list there, Damo, that stand out to you?
Look, I was actually pretty happy how Wolves played, touching on Strand Larsen, until they probably went a couple goals down and then it seemed to switch. But they were plucky, and I think they're going to be a team that scores some goals this year. I'd love to see what happens when Arias does get into that starting 11. I didn't think he was going to start against City and be fed to the Wolves, pardon the pun, but, I just think that he's someone to keep an eye out. There's one on that list that I watched the game and I was like, look, this is one that you need to take these stats sometimes with the eye test as well. Is Cole Palmer makes the list. I can tell you right now, none of those 4 shots looked like it was going to be the moment that broke the deadlock in that game. He wasn't getting in any real creative or dangerous areas. So, definitely one to earmark that you can have these stats. They're well and good, especially to the guys on the top end of these stats. But you also got to make sure you're backing that up with the eye test and, previous history. And since Palmer's moved into this, weirdish 10 where they play like 2 10s, he's kind of playing like left 10 in build-up. He has not been the asset that was the Cole Palmer of the early half of last year. So yet again, he's had 4 shots, but from areas you don't expect him to score, or XG chances that aren't great. Hopefully he gets moved back to that wide right wall where I think he's absolutely one of the best players in the world. But
I just don't see him doing it, man.
They're
still getting results.
I said it in my video that in game week 4, if he's played in this role 3 times and blank 3 times, he will be out of the team. Which I know it's early to make a transfer like that, but
I agree.
I just think he's not an asset you kind of want to sit and drop in value too much. Like, I'd rather price drop of 1 or 2 with the fixtures they have. If it does happen, I haven't looked at the price rises today, to be honest, because I'm not planning on a transfer no matter what this week. But he, out of everyone on that list, he was one that I looked at that I was like, you know, these stats kind of inflate how good Palmer played, which he was
Yeah.
dreadful. But yeah, and the other one I want to touch on is Ballard. Looks like that Sunderland are going to fling everybody into the box when it comes to set pieces. So if you do need that cheaper option, and Sunderland do
He's
have
going
the
up in
occasional
price
fixture,
though. I just don't think you can. He's like 4.6, so it's
yeah,
like you're not moving a 5 or a 5.5 down to him. I think you just
I
got to
just
let that one go, and maybe later in the season, once money's sort of worked out and the casuals are gone, I think you can look at him again, because their run of fixtures is only short term as well. So
correct.
I just think you just let him go right now. But I think there might be a period of time when we've got a bit more money stored in our teams, then you
One
can
for
probably look at reintegrating him.
one for a wild card or second half of the year, if you're
Yeah.
setting up for another bench boost. It looks like the sort of team. I wouldn't say it was like Stoke from back in the day, but like they know that a lot of their chances are going to come from aerial balls into the box, long throws, this, that, whatever. So there could be, for the bigger, taller guys there at Sunderland, that you could pick them up and put them on your bench and be like in a good fixture,
But they also
potentially.
weren't
Play and
scared to
play.
throw balls into the box, man. Like a Dinger's assist is just
Yeah, it's
from the
next level.
byline, man. Or not byline, but from the touchline, he just goes whoom into the penalty spot. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, "Oh, we're going to get in behind and we're going to whip the ball in." So
But
anyway, let's move it
one to
on
just
because
one
oh
just
yeah,
earmark and put in the back of your head. Not saying to buy, but one
oh
to
yeah.
earmark and be like, just watch that for the next few weeks and make a decision.
So don't have to probably go too much into this. XGI for forwards over the weekend. Haaland with 2.0, which was all goal threat. Ekatike 1.2 was mostly goal threat. I reckon there was a little bit of assist in there as well. There was a few nice little flicks and passes and things where he was sending people through, and I was very impressed with him Saturday morning for us, but Friday night for our UK viewers. Again, Chris Wood scores 2, and one of the volleys probably a high. Actually, not the high. The second goal he rounds the goalkeepers, probably
Yeah, it's the
inflating his
highest
XG quite a lot. So probably meaning that the volley was a low XG chance. Thiago gets 0.75, whatever it is, for the penalty. And then Nemeka, again, same thing, penalty. And then Richarlison scores 2, and one of them's a freak bicycle kick. So, you can kind of make the numbers what they are, but that's, where it's at. And I don't think there's anything there too surprising. What I like here from the midfielders, though, obviously Semenyo scores 2, and that second goal was incredible. So
fantastic.
good. The Anthony is interesting as well because he missed from like 4 yards out. Like there was a chance there where he really should have scored for Burnley. Estevao looked really good off the bench, and Dom bloody mentioned him early in preseason and said this guy could be a serious player if he's to get the minutes. I think he's a right winger though, isn't he? From memory,
Yeah,
so
he
I
is.
just think if he's going to get minutes, it's going to kill Palmer. So it's kind of a catch-22. What you like there though is Anderson and Gibbs White both getting 0.7 with pretty much all from open play. Anderson taking corners and was very unlucky not to get the second assist there with the second touch off the rebounds for that Chris Wood goal. But man, knowing that Gibbs White is going to stay, I think he's probably, because with Eze, there's question marks. Gakpo, there's question marks. He's probably arguably the best 7.5 mid in the game. Again, we don't know who's on pens between him and Chris Wood, but I just love the Forest boys, and I'm really annoyed at myself and jumping at shadows with Anderson. I heard there were rumours of 4-4. Well, we saw 4-4-2 a lot in pre-season with the two strikers, and then he wasn't playing 90 minutes, playing in that box-to-box role, but he just controlled the game, Elliot Anderson, from the deeper positions, and I should have just backed my gut and known that he was going to play defensive midfield, and I would have gone with him instead of Ismail Assar. Any takeaways there, Dame?
Yeah, look, Anderson obviously was in the team and was very bullish on him from basically bidding all my drafts from preseason. Especially with the preseason Forest had, it put us off a lot of their assets, but we always knew he was going to start and play. And when they're playing this 4-4-1-1 or 4-2-3-1, whichever way you want to look at it, he is just so nailed in that 6. And the fact that he has that creativity and then that set piece threat on top of the defensive contributions is huge. If he gets one more defensive contribution, he gets himself an extra 2 points. and that also boosts up the bonus points, which could potentially see him get another, right? I don't think he just gets there because, Gibbs White and Wood and everyone else had a good game. So, but yeah, I think he's definitely one. Gibbs White's one to earmark, definitely watch. I know that they have some good fixtures now, Forest, and maybe if he's not in your team, maybe not worth a transfer out unless you go maybe Palmer down to him at some point. I think Gibbs White, especially if he's on pens, and I think he will be over Chris Wood, personally.
Probably more guaranteed that Gibbs White's going to be on the pitch at the end of the game. Like Chris Wood's going to come off 75, 80 minutes anyway.
Correct. I just think he's going to be the best of the 7.5 mils unless we get Eze to Spurs done really quickly and he comes in and he's nailed, which I believe he would be if he goes to Spurs. But yeah, I think he's definitely an option when Forest have some really good run of fixtures, especially now that he's tied down. He's pretty good. The other one that I wanted to mention on there is as much as it was 2 assists for Kudus, I don't think you can read too much into that one because one of them's a bicycle from a ball that was behind the striker, which wasn't the greatest ball. And the other one, again, was just a ball in the box that seemed a little aimless and Richarlison's flicked it home. So, yeah.
I'm worried if they get Savinio as well, that's just going to eat into his minutes even more.
Yeah.
So
there's always one on that list that you look at and go, and he's probably the
one. Alanga should have scored as well.
Yeah.
He had a big one-on-one that he hit straight at the keeper. Again, stacks there for XGI. So I'm just, just keep an eye on. All right, we're moving on because we've got a lot to go through. And why is this not wanting to? Why is my computer not computing? What is happening? Wait up. Bear with me, guys. There's always something when it's live. Let me just stop sharing it. Let me restart it. We love doing live content.
If you are new to the channel, give it a like. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel as always. Obviously, got some longer form contact with myself, some shorts with Paul, and Dom's over on the Twitter as well. Hopefully, it is now working for Paul. If not, it is perfectly fine. I think you want to bring up defenders. Is that what you're trying to bring up, Paul?
I don't know. I'm on some... Oh, I hate this program because it's just not letting me click on the screen. Oh, I know. It's because we're done. It's because we're done. DEFCON, mid. No, we're done.
Awesome. Good work, mate.
Wait up. No, we're not. I went the wrong way. All right. DEFCON. Sorry. Yeah. This is weird. All right. DEFCON from the midfielders. This is weird. Anyway, we're here now. Tavernier 20, Adams 19. That is just complete.
Liverpool.
The start of the game was just crazy. It was end to end. There was no build up. It was just go, 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 which means lots of turnovers. Weaver, again, interesting. There's just names here that you don't expect. Martin Odegaard, again,
I don't know.
Arsenal actually were on the back foot a lot. So it doesn't surprise me that they were pushing for that. But Onana and Stack, again, we know that. 3 other players had 12. So Caicedo, Zubimendi, and Cullen. So it's interesting that you got 2 Arsenal centre midfielders in there and not Declan Rice of all people. So you'd be fuming look, Rice got the assist anyway, but you'd be fuming that he didn't get 100%. The DC. But that's 100%. Interesting. Yeah, because, you had Anderson and Bruno both missed by 1 as well. You had Salah missed by 2. And we would have been absolutely laughing as Salah captain as if we got DC points from Salah. The defenders, Virgil went crazy. Lacroix was someone I was very, very keen on as well. I would have been fuming if I had that on the bench clean sheet DC as well. Tarkovsky ended up on 15, which is incredible. And then you got Nuri, Saliba, Ballard, and Vandenberg of all people. But again, that was because Forest absolutely battered them. Big chances we have. Haaland, Ekatike, and Semenyo, and then 25 other players had 1 each. So I guess Semenyo is probably the big one there to talk through because he is the talisman at Bournemouth. What are your thoughts on Antoine Semenyo?
Look, he was in a couple of my drafts, just set up for a bench boost too with Evan Nielsen. If I went with one of those 2 drafts, I would have had a lot of points this week, but that's okay. You can't have everyone, and thankfully that's how FPL has been priced this year, which is really good. Incredible player, quality player. I know everyone goes to Clive because he's on pens, but Semenyo's got more talent in his left foot than the whole of what I think Clive has personally. He can go up, he can go back, he can go left, he can go right. He sniffs around the box. He's always taking shots. He can drive at defenders, and the goal he scored is going to go down as one of the better goals of the season with the big driving run through the middle of the park. So, yeah, look, I think Semenyo is absolutely fantastic. And to be quite honest, is an asset that you should get on during a Bournemouth good run. The only problem is was a good run from game week 2 onwards, and a lot of our teams, if you're structuring
And he's at 7.1 now as well.
Yeah, if you're structuring away, you didn't really get a 7. You either go into a 6.5, a 5.5, or an 8.5 and up. The 7.5 or 7s were quite difficult to get to unless you were going with a cheaper forward. And so I've chosen to go obviously 7.5 striker with Joe Pedro over him. And in the end, that's the difference between probably winning a few head-to-heads this week and not. So, yeah. Great play.
Yeah, I think we learnt that this week. Sometimes maybe you get the guys on with 90 minutes over the minute risk, but it is what it is. So, why are we doing this again? Laptop.
Might be at the end of it, Paul.
No. Actually, yes, we
Yeah.
are. All right.
We are.
We're there because I didn't take every single one of those, but those are all from All About FPL over on Facebook and Twitter. So there's a little bit of a shout out to All About FPL. Let's stop the screen because I think there is one big thing we want to talk about before we get into your comments. So please get in the chat if you are here and get your questions in for us ahead of a little Q&A section at the end today. We want to talk through some price changes and price rises. Now, this is what's at the moment likely to go up. So Erling Haaland, I think, goes up. Maybe not tonight, but I reckon tomorrow. I reckon he holds off just now. I guess the hourly change is quite high, but I don't think it's going to happen before 10 o'clock tomorrow our time. Ballard, again, I reckon he goes up over the next couple of days. Same with Richarlison, which is a bad buy as well. But then you've got Kudus, who's close. You've got Matty Cash, who that's an interesting one because his numbers weren't great. But then you've got a Reinders who's gone up once already and is already at 30%, and it's only Tuesday. So I think Reinders probably goes up twice, which is going to be bloody crazy with how many people are bringing him in. Semenyo's gone up once as well, Damo. We're in a really interesting spot. I think Chris Wood's actually gone up once as well. So
yeah, I think Wood's also taken a price rise, and I'm trying to figure there was an 8.5 that went up to 8.6, but I can't remember.
None of the 8.5s would have gone up. That's just Verts and Mamouche.
Yeah, all right, awesome. So it must be
any big ones that you want to go through before we go through the price fallers?
Look, obviously, I think Reinders could get even a 5.8 by the end of the game week if all the FOMO. The only thing I want to touch on when it comes to price rise, this is the most volatile part of the season, right? All the casuals are engaged because it's game week 1, and in game week 2, they're chasing all the points that happened last week. So, you got people on that list that I would never buy, and that's Richarlison and Kudus. You got Eze that's probably coming into Spurs, and Kudus is a minute risk. You got Richarlison, who will probably have to come out of the team for Solanke. That's another one there as well. You got Lewis that's going up and might get up by the deadline too. We just don't know what the City
who's going to play right back
in terms of who's going to start. So my message to you guys would be: this is the time where you just make your value in holding your assets that done well. And if you have an asset that does poorly, look, it doesn't matter. You can probably lose value on them right now, but you picked them for a reason. And because you picked them for the reason, just hold them for a drop. And this is the most volatile it will be. And in the second half of the year or later in the season, as you would know, Paul, the players that you really want to target or you've had in your team long term, because they're good, they will go up in price because everyone that's still engaged in the game are going to be picking them up. So, don't get too caught up in what's going on right now. For instance, if you wanted to make a panic move and you had to get someone in because of a price rise, then off you go. But being that it's game week 2 and you're thinking like that, it probably didn't need to happen.
Yeah, I agree. So let's have a quick look at the decreases. Now, I don't know if anyone's actually gone down just yet as well. I haven't checked that. But right now, Marlon down or almost down from 5.5, which is probably fair enough. But I don't know why anyone would have started with him with just the concerns around his minutes. Isak, like who's starting with Isak with the impending move? Like Mamouche is probably the one that I understand the most. A lot of people were bullish on Mamouche and then getting the bench. It's a risk with Man City, and like we bought into that Reinders risk. So I guess we sort of got the payoff there. Solanke, again, people should have known that he wasn't 100% fit, given that he didn't start the Super Cup as well. Jacob Murphy, like there's just some names here. I'm like, why are people picking these guys? Like Vardiol, we had news about. Savinio's been linked for transfers. Edison's been linked away. Bailey, we barely saw him preseason. Rodri's injured. So a few interesting ones. Bowen, I think that's a lot of people rage selling him and maybe wildcarding out of their game week 1 team and chasing the Sunderland fixture, which is fair enough. I could probably understand that. But the rest of these names here, Arias, I understand as well. Probably expected him to start. Didn't happen. Again, you're probably just holding him. Like, I don't think he goes down this week anyway, so I reckon you could be fine. But names like Smith Rowe, your doggy, Welbeck, Visser, like, they're all names that people shouldn't have really had in their side. So before we wrap up on the prices, Damo, any final thoughts there before we get into some questions by our lovely chat?
I think the only transfer there that makes sense for someone that's going to drop is probably Welbeck. There's probably a lot of people that would have punted that he would have started and he didn't. I think the safer pick would have been to not go there personally. But look, if you have someone like that in your team, this is probably a time where you just cut loose even in game week 1 because it's not likely they're going to start in game week 2, etc. But yeah, there's no one on that list on the decreases that I think anyone watching this stream's probably owning. And that's the casuals at play. Oh, this guy scored well last week. Let me go and do my team the night before the deadline. Oh, he didn't play. Take Isak.
Yeah.
Move him out, or insert whoever. Really. So yeah. Look, I think yet again it's volatile this time of the season, and well done for being an engaged manager. Well done for watching the stream. You knew better, and as everyone else drops in price around you, you've got all the assets that are going up and building team value. So very well done to you. Pat yourself on the back.
Exactly. So if you haven't already, guys, make sure you go over and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. Make sure you smash a huge thumbs up as well so that we can push this video out once it is live as a video tomorrow. If you would like to get your game week 1 team rated, make sure you head over to X right now and post a screenshot of your team on the post that we put up about 40 minutes ago now, so I can get it on screen for you guys, or get your questions in the comments below for us to answer. Any big talking points, Damo, that you've got coming out of Game Week 1 that we haven't covered so far tonight?
Not really. There's a few teams that I looked at and watched, and I'm definitely going to target them when the fixtures come around. Crystal Palace was one of them. I thought they were really good. And I definitely see a world where a lot of us will triple up with probably at least a defender and 2 attackers, or 2 defenders and an attacker. I just thought they were really good. I think there's a few other teams that look really good. And I think the biggest talking point is, apart from Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds started the season well. And I think especially Sunderland at home is not going to be the typical fixture we're going to target as much as previous seasons. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see over the next few game weeks how those relegation threatened sides really do deal with what we have.
Good. So speaking of Burnley, I think a lot of people are going to be in this position now.
I am too.
Yes, Hub got my team rating there at 96%. Lots of us picked Esteve. After today, I'm starting to think, was Goodmanson maybe the pick? I know he has Leeds this week. So, I say Leeds. He has Arsenal this week. Leeds defensively did look really good. And they actually get Biol, who's a starting centre-back next week as well. The big dilemma I think a lot of people are in, do you play Esteve or do you play your Pedro Porro, Van de Ven against Man City? Hub's got it at a point, which is interesting. I feel like Hub have this as 2 appearance points and 2 DC points, not a clean sheet for Burnley, which is just my personal opinion. I think this will be a decision that comes down to the deadline for me. I think I'll be tossing and turning over that exact move because Saar doesn't come out of my team, neither does Reinders. So the only play, and I mean, I've got Richards versus Murillo, so I'm kind of hoping for maybe a 1-0 Crystal Palace win and then a Murillo DC 4-pointer. That's me putting it out there in the universe. But I'm really torn between Pedro Porro and Esteve. I really did like the way that Tottenham played against PSG in the Super Cup game as well, because they were really, really strong defensively in that 3-5-2, and I expect Thomas Frank to play that way as well. Where are you leaning at this stage on that decision?
Look, Hub has it that if you have the Dubravka and Esteve, you should play him over whoever your keeper is.
I'm definitely not playing both.
I'm definitely not in that camp either. I was pre-game week 1, and then you watch game week 1, and you're like, eh. Now it's a question of who do you think will outscore each other? Do you think the Dubravka would save points, and if they keep a clean sheet, he's probably made a handful of saves and might get free bonus? Or is it a Stevie who might get defensive contributions, and even if they can see, could still get Richter points? I think what you should do, and I think you have to play a Stevie, and if you got Sanchez against West Ham and the fact they didn't score on the weekend, you probably go Sanchez and a Stevie as you've got it on screen.
Yeah.
I will say, if you do not have Sanchez and you've got another 4.5 million keepers, let's say you have Kelly, or let's say you have Verbruggen, or one of those, I actually think the play would be to play Dubravka, right? And if you've got a Pedro Porro, not a Van de Ven, I would play Porro, because when they play fight at the back, Porro will be even more creative in terms of the outlet and still get defensive contributions, which he did get against Bayern Munich in the preseason friendly and in the Super Cup from the wingback role. I think there's definitely a world where Sanchez and Porro will outscore Stevie and Dubravka. And I think it's viable to play just both of them and bench a Stevie and Dubravka. This is why I was setting up for a bench boost game week 2, so I didn't have to make this decision. But unfortunately, Guiu's not had the minutes or preseason, even though he will play at some point this season. Doesn't look like it's going to be game week 2. So instead of sitting on the fence, I'll give you a prediction. I think the safest play is to play a different goalkeeper than Dubravka and Esteve, just because even if they do concede, and I expect them to concede, Esteve can still get defensive contributions for you.
Perfect. And that's exactly where I'm sitting on it as well. So that's just exactly where I'm at. So I am probably going to roll with that as my game week 2 side anyway. A little sneak preview before I do a short on it later this week. So for those that have made it to this point of the video or the stream, I am definitely not making a transfer this week. I'm definitely, end of the day, I've picked a team for, that was really good over the first 6-7 weeks without even really needing to make a transfer. The Crystal Palace assets I knew weren't optimal game week 1 picks with Chelsea and then Forest. But then when you start to move, I don't actually think Villa are going to be that crash hot this year either. I know they drew 0-0 with Newcastle, but they actually didn't look good at all, to be honest, at home. So I'm not actually opposed to having Richards and Sarr against Aston Villa. And then you pick up Sunderland and West Ham, Everton, Bournemouth in there as well. It's funny. Dom was laughing at me, why are you going with Sarr again? And then here I am. I've got Sarr again. I'm a numbers guy, and I really do like the expected data that Ismaila Sarr puts up. Now, if Eze goes and their attack just turns to crap, then different story. But I actually think it makes Munoz maybe a bit more creative, and Tyreek Mitchell, which actually makes Sarr a better option, because if their fullbacks are getting to the byline, then who are they cutting it back to? They're cutting it back to Mateta, and they're cutting it back to Sarr. So I'm very, very keen to have him in my side regardless of what happens, as I bring your side up on screen now. Damo, talk us through you.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat, and I've decided obviously go to Sanchez and Esteve for now. I may switch on this again because I know, look, Hub are pretty good at decent projections, and without a couple of small little things that didn't go my way, one defensive contribution each way from Bruno and Anderson, and Tarkowski not conceding a penalty that was never there, Hub actually get my points predicted smack bang on. So there's definitely a world where you buy into that. If you have this decision, just go with what Hub says, and they say to play Dubravka. And it might happen. What I will say is there is a small chance I do bench boost this game week anyhow. If we get news that we're going to get Guiu starting for whatever reason, I don't know why that would be the case, and I don't see that happening. But if we did get that news, I'll just play the bench boost, because I can see a world where Diouf gets an attacking return, Porro gets an attacking return in both of their games. But I think the players now, like game week 8 or just whenever the bench looks good, to be honest, for me. In terms of the other talking points here, I'm not planning on a transfer at all this game week. And I say in my video, I've actually already penciled in a transfer for game week 4. And I'm not one to usually pencil in a transfer, but I've already got one that I have pre-planned in Hub already as well. So, that to me that's when the fixtures for Palace get really good. And that's the week they play Sunderland. And I've already penciled in João Pedro to Mateta, as long as we don't have a price rise or fall. That does mean that if Pedro looks like dropping in price, there's a small chance I pivot to Mateta. But if he's going to drop in price this week and I'd rather save the transfer, my plan in game week 4 would actually be to sell Cole Palmer down to get Pedro to Mateta as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching Palmer with interest up until the international break. And then I think that might be the point of reshaping the side, because just doing this on the fly, I reckon in my side with a Cole Palmer and a João Pedro, if I went to Erling Haaland, it leaves me 4 million for a midfielder. So that doesn't quite work. So if I wanted to get Erling Haaland in, it would require probably, I mean, it wouldn't require 3 moves. I'd want to make 3 moves because I'd also want to get rid of João Pedro probably at the same time. So you'd have 13 million to spend on a midfielder and a forward. I'd be looking at Anderson, I think. I think if I could just roll with Anderson and Reinders, which is what my bloody initial plan was, those 3 moves then leave me Haaland, Anderson, and a 7.5 forward, which would be fantastic. So, hopefully if that means Mateta hasn't risen, and by game week 3 or game week 4, I've got the 3 transfers sitting there, it could be that as long as Palmer, Haaland's probably going to go up. So I probably need something to go my way in order for that to happen. But we'll see. We'll never know. So
yeah, I'm not planning on pivoting to Haaland just of yet. I think they've got great fixtures, but if you've gone Salah, you're not planning to get to Haaland. And obviously I've gone Salah. So, if he goes off ballistic and Salah doesn't, that's the only way we're going to get to Haaland's by selling Salah. And if that's what we've got to do, that's what we've got to do. What I will say with that as well is that we shouldn't see a Mateta price rise unless he goes and spangs a hat trick in against Forest, which I don't see happening. And then the week after that, it's an okay fixture, but a fixture that I think I am benching Manoz in by memory in game week 3.
Aston Villa.
No, they got Aston Villa. So maybe, who knows, right? Because Villa, whatever. I just don't see well when Mateta is going to go massively up in price. And that's why I started with Pedro, because it was 3 really good fixtures. Palace, I thought was a good fixture for him. They've got this fixture against West Ham, which looks like it's going to be a pretty good fixture. And then they got Fulham at home in a bit of a London derby. So, my plans are to get to Mateta, and we'll just watch Cole Palmer with interest. I think me personally, I'll just downgrade Palmer to one of these cheaper options. It might even be Saar if I do it in game week 4 and go triple Palace that way and know that they're going to get something like me. At home. And then I would actually save the money because in game week 5, my team looks good. In game week 6, where everyone's like, oh my God, Haaland's got Burnley, we got the free hit we can use. And I'm planning to use it in game week 6. And then all of a sudden I've got a lot of money to spend in game week 7. So that's kind of the transfer plans and like bench boost and free hit strategy. But it's game week 2. So as long as you set your team up fairly well, you can be flexible, you can do what you want.
It's still early.
That's it.
It's definitely still early. So don't panic. Probably spend the next couple minutes. Get your questions in if you are here. I can see there's still a few people hanging around in the chat as well. So get your questions in. Let us know what you'd like us to talk through. We've got a little bit of time left. Otherwise, we will end the stream. So if you do have some desperate questions you want to get off your chest whilst we're live, get them in now. Also, remember, get over to X and get your team in the comments over there as well, because that is where I can grab it from the easiest. So this is a real opportunity to get that sorted. At this stage, there aren't any sides over on Twitter. So make sure you go over to Chasing Rank FPL, and there's the post from 50 minutes ago now that is that we're live. Can you please put them over there, which would be fantastic. We can have a quick look at our Chasing Rank league. So let me put the banner back up, because if you're not in our league, I did have the banner going before, but I did take it away to give credit to our lovely friend with all the graphics. Let me just get comments back up. And now let me go to our league Chasing Rank. Let me share my screen. God, I need Dom back so we can share responsibilities, because this has been too much. All right, here we go. So, here we go. Dim. Don't even worry about sending your team in. Here we go.
Top of the league is Dim.
With a game week rank of 118,000. So, what a start. And he has a few things that were a bit interesting. So, Sanchez, Frimpong, Milenkovic, Tarkovsky, Palmer, Rogers, Gakpo, Kudus, Haaland captain, João Pedro, Fulkrug, Verbruggen, Van der Ven, Anderson, and Diouf. So that probably leaves you in an interesting position as well, because, where do you go from here now? Like, that's obviously you're probably benching the two Spurs boys and you're benching Diouf, so it means Anderson comes on, and then the rest of that side actually looks all right, to be fair, for this week.
Depends on Frimpong if he's how injured that hammy is, and if he starts and what the
You
press
just play
conference
Van de
is.
Ven.
Yeah, no, that's probably what you do. You just then, right, it doesn't sound like Frimpong will be out for long either. So you just ride it. Great start, Dim. Great bench boost. This yet again proves that bench boost is not the most valuable chip, but if it goes right, it's very important. I played against a guy that bench boosted and only got 3 points total because he had Areola in goal, he didn't play, and everyone else got 1 pointers. So, this is the fact of
Well,
why
that
I was thinking.
Verbruggen, they lost that clean sheet with practically the last kick of the game too. So that's
And
frustrating.
Brighton dominated that game. I don't know if you've seen the game, Paul, but Brighton probably should have scored 3 or 4, and Fulham literally did nothing until the 96th minute.
Yeah, wow. Okay, fair enough.
But great team, Dim. Great bench boost. Good to see 2 6-pointers on the bench, which always helps. If you can get more than 10 points on your bench boost, you're pretty happy. So to get that from 2 players is pretty good. Look, I think it's a great team, and I think you've done really well. And look, interesting that you went with Rodgers, and now that he started, I think it's a great pick and a non-Salah draft doing really well. I can see it, especially when you're going Captain Haaland.
So for Dom's sake, we probably should have gone through Dom's team anyway. He scored a 69 with HAALAND captain, so he got us this week. But he had Nico Williams and Diouf in the defense. Saka didn't really help. Obviously got the clean sheet, but he did get the Gakpo and Reinders points there. So Dom's side for this week is in a pretty decent position. He obviously gets Haaland against Tottenham. He's got Palmer. He's got Watkins. Fulkrug's probably something he's looking at as a bit of an upgrade. I guess you get Anderson, but I think he'd probably play that as a defense. Hover played 72 minutes and conceded 3. He did play at wing back though, so interesting for a 4 million option. But probably they got Bournemouth this week, don't they?
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't play him. I don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet. I think Bournemouth are going to be a side that concede goals, but they're going to score goals as well. So I don't think he's really a playable option. So I feel like Dom's going to have to probably play almost that exact team. I mean, Anderson could play against Man United. What did he get?
I would be putting Anderson in over Dior, probably.
Yeah, he had 8 defensive contributions.
Yeah,
8 DCs, not bad.
Pedro Porro against City, I actually think is fine. I think this is the thing, and this is what I hated benching Minoz, is guys that are so aggressive and attacking for their teams at fullback and can get DC points just seem no-brainers to play every week. But, because I went with Diop and the upside of Diop, it is what it is. Smash a like. 2 points for me. Cut longer from Barco and Konsa. Jarrell Kwanzaa.
Thanks, Cal. So I'm going to do one more run on the Twitter before we call it tonight. There's no other sides on the Twitter team. So if you want to quickly get your last minute comment in before we wrap up, get it in right now. Back when De Silva was a nailed pick.
It was a nailed pick. 100%.
I think on that note, that might be where we leave it, just shy of an hour. The last few weeks, we've gone an hour and 20, and there's probably been a bit more to talk about. Game week 1's a little bit difficult as well. Like, you can look into numbers, but I feel like, my recommendation. What are you going to say?
I said in terms of streaming and in terms of content, game week 1 for content is the worst after it's finished. Pre-game week 1 and pre-season is the best, and game week 1 is the worst because the best advice to give you is don't make a transfer, don't do nothing. You pick your players for a reason. Go trust them. Yeah. See you in game week 2. Why did you roll in game week 1? Because that's what we should all do.
Exactly right. And that's exactly where I was going, Damo. So I think if I'm going to give you great advice this week, you've picked your team for a reason. You might have did what I did on Friday night and started tweaking and moving little pieces. And maybe hindsight for me, I should have gone with my initial gut. And, Diouf and Sarr. Again, I'm happy with Diouf and Sarr. Would I prefer Tarkovsky and Anderson probably at this point? I could probably fix that up next week if I'm really desperate for freeze. My big learning is no hits. I really want to go through this year and not I won't take a hit, but it's got to be a good one and it's got to make sense. So no just hits for the sake of taking a hit. That's my advice because 2 years ago I lost a lot of rank just chasing aggressively and then losing a lot of points that way. So not something I'm going to be doing this year. I'm going to be a lot more patient and try and be a lot more patient this year and try and maintain my rank. So if you have enjoyed the stream and you're still here because there's still 5 people lingering, Make sure you hit a like on the stream. Make sure that you have subscribed to the channel. We are up to 72. I would love to try and get to 100 this week, ideally. I know it's a very optimistic target. We've got Damo's video going live tonight. I think at 9, I think. When have I got it going up? It is scheduled for 9 p.m. It is scheduled for 5 minutes.
About to go in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's about to go live in 5 minutes. I've got a short going live tomorrow at 6 a.m. as well around my top 5 transfer targets. So we've spoken a lot about those players tonight. I'm going to have my top 5 ranked for you tomorrow. I'm also going to have a wildcard draft. So if you did a heavy game week 1 bench boost and you want to get into a wildcard, we are going to have a wildcard ready to go. And I'm also going to have a short go live about where my side is at going into game week 2. So plenty of content still to come. Make sure that you get around all the videos. Make sure you put the bell notification on to know when all our videos go live. And Damo and I will see you guys next Tuesday for our game week 2 review stream. We'll see you then.